What's up, guys? Today we're going to be reviewing Dragon's Dogma 2. I just want to put this out there right away that I tried to play the first one a few times over the years, probably 3 separate times. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't get through the beginning, the first few hours. It was too boring for me. I don't know, it just didn't do it for me. I will say this though too about Capcom games for me is I'm not that big of a fan of certain Capcom games. I like a lot of the Resident Evils, but I think this game is a mashup of Monster Hunter, Elden Ring, and The Witcher 3. That's how I would describe it if I had to quickly. It's not as good as those games individually, but it takes parts from each of those games, I feel like. And there's a lot to talk about with this game, so I don't even know where to begin. There's a lot I want to say, and I'm sure I'll forget a bunch of stuff because there's a lot to talk about. But let's take a stab at it. I'm going to start off with the gameplay, the good parts of the gameplay. Let's say combat can be very fun and rewarding. It really can. Fighting some of these big ass monsters, and some of the moments are just so crisp and clean when you finally put that death blow on the monster. Climbing the monsters and finally dealing that death blow to their skull definitely gives you a feeling of accomplishment. Like I said, the combat is very similar to Monster Hunter to me, with the climbing on the monsters and the different locations and that kind of thing. And combat can be very smooth, and at certain moments it just feels right. Sometimes when you're in battle and you're chaining things together and you got the right skills working for you, it just feels right. In my playthrough, I was LARPing as Conan. So I was using the warrior class with the two-handed sword. And yeah, it felt good climbing on these monsters and just slicing and dicing. It was a good time. Being able to use the particular skills that you want to use for your build makes your character feel like your own for sure. And you can change them out whenever you want, which is nice. And try different ones. You stack a ton of points eventually for your vocation, so spending isn't really a problem when you want to change skills and things like that. And the buttons are very easy to get used to, and they're not very complicated to understand. The game itself is not very complicated to understand, whether it's combat, inventory, or whatever. It's very straightforward, most of the stuff. Your inventory management, like I said, is straightforward, it's easy. You have what feels like an unlimited amount of storage space at your disposal, or at least at your home, which makes hoarding items really easy. And then they'll tell you when you're full in your storage box, so you can just go sell them at that point, make money. And you get detailed information on each item, so you know exactly what everything in your inventory is for, pretty much. Except for, you'll find plants and things that you can combine together to make different types of healing items and things, so you might not know what they do, you just have to start combining things together. And they make it really easy to just pause the game and use items during combat if you need to heal, or get some more stamina, put some buffs on, whatever. They make it really easy to do. It's seamless. We'll talk about this a little later, but since you can't just fast travel everywhere, the game actually makes you walk from place to place, which causes you to explore more of the map. This is the good aspect of this. It is cool that they make you explore the map instead of just fast traveling everywhere. I find myself in games like Fallout and all that stuff, I just start fast traveling around everywhere, even though I try not to. I'll tell myself when I start, like, I'm not going to fast travel, I'm going to do more exploring and walk from place to place, but I just end up fast traveling everywhere. This game doesn't really allow you to do that as easily. I'll explain why later, but it is good in a way because you either have to walk to where you're going or you have to take an ox cart. So it makes you have to explore the map and go on your own. And when you're walking down the roads, you see paths, off the beaten trail all the time. And exploring the map is definitely worth it in this game because there seems to be a treasure chest of some kind hiding around like every corner, any bend that you go around. A rock, you see a little, like, some rock formations that you think you can climb up. There's probably a treasure chest up there just behind the rock. So that's nice. They definitely reward you for exploring. And it happens quickly, so it doesn't take much time for you to find the next treasure chest. Keep that dopamine rush coming, man. But yeah, it makes you want to go exploring just to see what's out there because you find things all the time. But not having the fast travel like that, there is fast travel, but it's just very limited. It forces you to be in the world and have to actually travel. It makes the world feel more lived in, and it makes you feel a part of the people of the world, which helps with the story to an extent. So I actually liked that aspect. I understand a lot of people probably won't like that because I get it, the fast traveling thing. But I'm glad that they kind of forced me to walk around because I did enjoy exploring in this game. Many NPCs will just run up to you when they have a quest for you. When you get into towns and things, or just are sprinting past them, they'll stop you and talk to you. And this helps so that you don't have to spend time talking to every motherfucker in the city just to find quests. You still have to talk to people, and you will find quests if you go around talking. But you don't have to do that, which is nice, because that can be tedious and annoying. The pawns are an interesting part of this game. You can create one of your own pawns and then recruit 2 more pawns from other people's characters to play with you as your group. And you can command them to do a few things during combat, like go or attack and come to me or wait, just the basic shit. But they also double as pack mules, so that's nice. You can load them all up with garbage, ore, and just items. Other people can also hire your pawn to go on their travels, and you get points and rewards for doing that. So you might go sleep in an inn, and then all of a sudden when you wake up, your pawn will be like, I just returned. I did all this shit or whatever. I went on this adventure with this other guy. And what's cool about that is when you be walking around, your pawns will sometimes take you to hidden treasure chests that they know about. And they know about it because they were traveling with some other guy, and that dude found the treasure chest. So they're like, hey, master, I know where a treasure chest is here. I remember where it's at. And you're like, fuck, go for it. And they'll take you right to it. So that is pretty cool. I enjoyed that. I also enjoyed the people's pawns in general. Some of the people's pawns in this game are absolutely hilarious. I had a pawn that looked exactly like Asmongold, and he talked just like him, and it's just as annoying. And I also had one that looked exactly to a T like Gandalf, which was pretty badass. So it was cool to see all the people's pawns in this game and their creations. The leveling system in this game feels good too. You feel like you're steadily getting stronger and stronger when you level up, and that's how it should be in most of these games. You should progressively feel like you're getting stronger. Things shouldn't always scale with you to where whether you're level 1 or 50 you feel like the same. The timing on when you get new gear seems fair, and you never feel super underleveled. And you can also upgrade your gear at the armor and weapon shops once you've collected the materials. So that's nice. Yeah, you constantly get gear right when you need it. Right when you're like, man, I feel like my gear is starting to get, boom, you get hit with the new gear. Or you get to a new town and they got whole new stuff to buy. So that is very awesome. Being able to carry your character over to New Game Plus was a plus. All your items, everything that you collected in your first playthrough, they carry over, most of the items that you collected. And you keep all your levels and your stats and everything, so that's awesome. I always love when games at least give you New Game Plus. If I do want to keep playing, that's what I want a New Game Plus. I don't want to just keep starting over and over. Alright, I'm going to go to the bad of the gameplay for me. As much as the combat can be buttery smooth at times, it also can fail horribly at others. Like if you get stuck in certain tight spaces, the camera becomes absolutely unbearable. You can't see anything and the monsters just have you pinned there, just beating you down. You don't know if you're laying on you might be laying on the ground, crawling around and shit. You don't know. You can't see. You don't know if you're standing up, you're knocked down, you're seeing stars, you're sleeping on the job. You don't know. And you could be fighting underneath a monster and you won't be able to see anything. You're just swinging for the fences and hoping for the best. You could become very discombobulated real fast. Some of the attacks can take so damn long to pull off that by the time you swing, the enemies have already cleared out. And I just want to reiterate, as of this review, I've only played through the game once, and I played as a warrior with the two-handed sword, so my experience is all up close and personal. I don't know how it is as a mage. You can play as a mage, a thief, an archer, all that stuff. I don't know how it is with ranged attacks, but with the warrior class, this is my experience. Your stamina gauge is liable to drive you insane at some point. It runs out constantly, especially in the beginning, early stages of the game. And I found myself at times during the middle of combat just putting the controller down and standing there, just waiting for the stamina gauge to fill back up because they weren't doing enough damage to me. So I just got so pissed, I just put the controller down, just stare at my guy standing underneath the monster, just fucking waiting for my stamina gauge to come back before. So that was kind of annoying. It got frustrating. When you run out of stamina, your guy just stumbles around. He's stumbling around aimlessly like a drunken idiot. And it takes too long to recover from this state. Sometimes your pawns will come over and give you something, an item, or give you a little bit of stamina or something. But if your stamina drops all the way down, man, you're a drunken idiot. And you can use items to refill your stamina gauge, but it does get really annoying at times just having to pump yourself full of items just to run around when you're just running. Because like I said, no fast travel, so sometimes you gotta run place to place. And you're just sitting there basically popping pills, keeping your stamina gauge up just so you can sprint. And why is that? Because just same with fast travel, there's no mounts in this game. So that was surprising to me. There's no mounts in this game. You don't get a horse or anything. So for the most part, it's either just straight up walking or taking that ox cart. And like I said, with the fast travel points, I only found 2 fast travel points in the game that were in cities. And then they did give me a few port crystals, they call them in the game, from doing quests, which you can place wherever you want and use them as fast travel points. And it's nice that they give you a few of these, but it's obvious why that is. This is part of their microtransaction thing. They want to sell you port crystals with microtransactions. What a scummy tactic, man. We'll get into that. The combat can get pretty repetitive and boring once you've maxed out your vocation skills. You'll probably use the same 4 skills that you've been using for the rest of the game once you find that niche that you like, and it can get pretty old quickly. NPCs can come off as very dull and lame, and it's kind of hard to explain, but everything they do in the game is over the top cliche to the point where you just keep waiting for some type of twist or for them to stab you in the back because they're so upfront about everything, and then nothing ever happens. They really are just that dumb and stupid and lame. So, it took me a while to finally realize, no, this is just how the writing in the game is. It's just that drab and okay. Pawns can be very annoying because when you set them to follow you, they constantly just walk near cliffs and just fall off and die. And then you have to find a pawn shrine in order to bring them back. Sometimes you have to pay for an entirely new pawn again. And it sucks big time when you just spent 500 of your credits to buy a pawn. Just for 5 minutes later, him to just walk off a cliff and die. You don't get much choice when it comes to conversations in this game. Most of the choices come down to a this or that kind of thing, or a yes or no option. There's nothing else. That's it. And the overall game itself can come off as overly casual at times for me. And that arcadey Capcom feel, as I like to call it, it can wear off pretty fast. And sometimes you wonder if the game was made for drooling idiots. There's definitely moments like that. It's just so... It can be so drab and so straightforward. With the story being kind of mediocre and everything, that it can sometimes make you feel like, what am I doing here? It's not too bad. That's only at certain moments. Alright, let's go to the good part of the visuals. The game has stellar graphics, in my opinion. When you're standing on a cliffside and you're looking out onto the landscape, the game looks beautiful. And there are moments when this game can give you remnants of that Elden Ring feel. You know what I'm talking about? Just looking out at the world. But it's not Elden Ring. But it does look good. The people's faces look very detailed. Even all the NPCs, they're very realistic. All the NPCs look good. Even including the pawns. The pawns look really good too. And the customization available to you for creating main characters and pawns is huge. I tried to recreate Conan the Barbarian. You've probably seen some of this footage. It's not perfect, but I think I got pretty close. I saw a perfect looking Gandalf, like I said, that someone else made, and I was just like, wow, it looked perfect. Down to his nose, everything. And he sounded just like Gandalf and played just like him. The blood in this game looks fantastic. You feel like you really did fell that monster when you get that death blow in their skull when you're standing on top of them and burying that sword into his head. And the blood starts spraying everywhere. It looks really good, and it adds to that level of accomplishment when you kill these things. So that is nice. The bad parts of the visuals are constant camera clipping and chaos going on the screen can be very disorienting. This game was not even close to being optimized when it launched, and it took a lot of workarounds for me to get the game to look decent in the beginning. I don't have the best rig, but I have 4060. I have 32 gigs of RAM. The only thing I'm lacking is my processor, which is old. It's a i7 6700, but it's still serviceable. But the game played fine. The game itself played fine. It just looked fucked up, but you could tell it wasn't on my end as of why it looked bad. And they did put a patch out to fix some of the optimization, which it did. My shadows started to finally look normal, but for the first half of the game, the shadows were just all over the place, especially the tree shadows. Just they're boxy and they're just going all crazy. It was hard to look at sometimes. But yeah, 1 minute the game looks amazing, and the next minute the shadows from the trees start going crazy and it getting all boxy, like I said, and it's terrible. The worst part about the poor optimization for me was that it kept causing this slight stutter when I would be in towns and lowered frames. And like, I would almost prefer a harder stutter because it was such a slight stutter that it was really fucking with my eyes. I had to keep looking away and I couldn't wait to get out of the city sometimes. It was driving me insane to the point where it honestly started to piss me off. Alright, let's move on to the sound. The good parts of the sound is pretty damn good all around, I'm not gonna lie. The pawns have their own unique voices and personalities, and that really helps to make them their own characters, which I loved. The clanking of the swords or the crashing of the trees, it's all there, and it all sounds pretty good when happening together. The monsters sound scary and intimidating, and you can hear them rustling around in the forest or up on the cliffs from pretty far away. It's scary the first few times you hear a cyclops or an ogre or something in the trees and breaking trees and stuff. He comes rushing out of the forest at you. The soundtrack is fine. It's not great, but it does its job, and it doesn't take away from the game by being terrible, so that's good. And we'll go with the bad part of the sound. In my opinion, most of the NPCs in this game sound like some neckbeard doing bad Dungeons and Dragons interpretations. Most of them are drab and have nothing to say, except maybe a line or two that doesn't matter, which is unfortunate. Alright, let's get into the story a little bit. I'm going to try not to ruin anything for you guys. I'm just going to do a quick overview of the story, because it's very mediocre, and there's nothing special about it in my opinion. So, you are the Arisen, a person who in prophecy kills the dragon and restarts the cycle. That's the whole premise of the game. You become the Arisen by being killed by the dragon first, and the dragon takes your heart, and then you arise from the dead to finally fell the dragon. The problem is that there's a doppelganger Arisen who's LARPing as the real you. Hello, me. Meet the real me. Get some Dave Mustaine out here. And then you're thrown in prison after your fight with the dragon, and nobody realizes that you're the real Arisen at first. So your story starts from there, and you help people, or don't, along the way to get into the bottom of this madness. That's the premise of the story. So for my opinions, the good parts of the story were that the story keeps the game moving forward the way that you'd want it to, and it doesn't waste time in getting you into the action and sucking you in, which is awesome because that's exactly why I didn't play through the first one. I couldn't get through the beginning parts of the game because it was so damn boring. This game gets you right into the action. Like, it doesn't waste any time, which I really appreciate. The side stories add some depth to the main story, and you find yourself on a few missions actually giving a shit about some of these people, which is surprising. and it looks to have multiple endings, and there are different paths you can take during each playthrough, which I appreciate because there's the new Game Plus mode and you can play it through differently, and it gives you reason to keep playing the game. The bad parts of the story are that it isn't always that entertaining, and you find yourself having to force yourself to pay attention because you don't know what the fuck is going on. You lose track of some main characters and you don't really care about any of them by the end. I didn't. And I would say overall the story is just milquetoast at best, and it plays backseat to the gameplay, which is fine. It's not bad. The story overall is not bad, it's just there, and it gets you where you need to be going. And then I just want to put a part here about this microtransactions. So Capcom put microtransactions in this game. You can buy points, because you have to pay points for your pawns. When you recruit other people's pawns, you have to pay points for them. And you get them by finding shrines in the world, pawn shrines, or when your pawn gets hired and then he comes back, you get points for that. But it's not a lot of points. And some of these guys, like my Gandalf, I wanted to rehire him later, and he was so high level that I couldn't afford him. He was like 1,500 or 2,000 points. I only had like 5, 6, 700, so I could never afford him again, which sucked. So they sell those points in microtransactions now, so you can buy a bunch of those and get whatever pawns you want. Very scummy. They also sell those fast travel port crystals, which is probably the main seller because it is annoying as fuck having to walk all over this map. Especially when you've walked those areas multiple times and the enemies keep respawning and you already know what you're going to have to deal with going back out there. It can be very frustrating. And I think obviously it was made that way so that you get to that point where you get pissed off and you're like, fuck it, I'm just going to spend the $3 and get this stupid port crystal because I'm sick and tired of walking this fucking route. That's how it starts, guys. That's how it starts. But yeah, I know people have been railing on the microtransaction stuff, and it sucks. I don't need to talk too much about it because you guys know it's fucking terrible. It just doesn't need to be here. Just doesn't need to be here, so. Alright, I'm going to give my final thoughts on this game. I'll say Dragon's Dogma 2 is mostly an enjoyable experience, especially when it comes to modern games. It felt like a mashup of Monster Hunter, Elden Ring, and The Witcher 3 to me. It gives you that sense of wonder that those game worlds give you, but only during the first half of the game. What I mean by that is, the first like 25 or 30% of this game, I honestly felt, and this is why it's important if you're doing these reviews and stuff, to play the whole damn game and play it for a long time, because if I would have gave you the review then, this game was the first game to give me that Elden Ring feel, where I wanted to keep coming back. I wanted to keep playing. I couldn't stop playing. And that's awesome, because I don't get that very often anymore. But it also wore off very fast. It got old quick. But in the beginning, it did give me that wondrous feel, and oh man, because I haven't played a game like this in a while. And once you figure things out, you realize it's not quite on the level of those games, like I said, but it's still a good, fun game to play. The bugs are not game-breaking, in my opinion. I didn't have really any game-breaking bugs. I had a couple crashes early in the launch, but I think that's more with the optimization stuff instead of actual bugs in the game. I didn't find too many bugs in the game. It's Capcom though, so like if you're talking about, oh, that guy's arm is glitching through this, or that's that arcadey Capcom game feel that I'm talking about. Their games are always like that. That's part of the reason why I usually don't like their games, is because it's too arcadey for me sometimes. But this one, surprisingly, I did enjoy this game, the gameplay of this. But I assume they'll continue to optimize the game going forward, and it will stabilize, per se. The slimy way that they incorporated microtransactions into the game just brings the experience down. I mean, if you were going to give this some type of number rating, it would have to just lose points just for that. Just for sticking this shit in there, because you gotta say, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it no more. You know what I'm saying? Oh, hell yeah. We gotta fucking go the Stone Cold route and, you know, heed his words, man. We're not taking this shit no more. We're gonna open up a can of whoop ass on them, and that's all we got to say about that, you know? We can't be buying this shit, so I'm glad people are speaking out about it. I mean, it's not quite a pay-to-play experience yet. These games will get there, but it will take way more time to do basic things if you don't buy one of those port crystals. It really will. And you can obviously see where all these tactics are heading in the future with these games. It's just going to get slimier and slimier if people keep buying it, so... I feel like this is the Elder Scrolls horse armor moment. This right here, boys, this is the Elder Scrolls horse armor moment. We gotta say no. Other companies are taking notice, and you will have to start paying for more things like this in your games in order to get the intended experience, and that's just disgusting. I don't want to see that get any worse than it already is. So, should you buy this game? Here's gonna be my rating. Yeah! Yeah, you should buy this game, but I would not recommend it at full price. The most I would pay for this is $30. And that's only if you don't have anything else to play right now. If you don't have a backlog and you have nothing to play, go ahead and buy it for $30. But if you got games to play right now, just wait for this game to be like $7.99 in a year. You know it will. Look at Dragon's Dogma, Dark Arisen, or wait 2 years. It doesn't matter. There's so many games now that you don't have to buy it for full price or even $30. I don't think it's worth that. So take that for what you will and make a good decision about it. Hopefully this helps you guys make a decision on the game, but don't reward them with the microtransaction stuff, guys. Don't let them get away with it. Fuck that. But anyways, that's all I got for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. I'm out.